Hi, today I'm going to talk about the science fiction series from 2022 based on William Gibson's novel of the same name called The Peripheral.
All I'm asking is that you do your job. I need you to get her inside it, now.
London 2099. A man is sitting by a river watching a virtual installation of a naval battle. Suddenly, a barefoot girl, Aelita, approaches him. She is in trouble again, due to the fault of his dangerous friends. This time, Aelita must save the whole world, but clarifies, she didn't say our world. The action shifts to the year 2032, the Ridge Town. Flynn Fisher lives with her mother and brother in a house in the middle of nowhere. Her mother is ill and blind. That morning, Flynn discovers that the capsule with the necessary medicine is half empty and hurries to her brother's wagon. Burton is immersed in the game. At his sister's accusation, he asks for a substitute to win the necessary funds. The light ice player enters the game in a man's body and finds herself under Nazi fire in a sheepfold. Her partners cannot get out because of the density of fire. She orders the animals to be released. The way turns out to be free, but the terms of the game require her to find some kind of a map. Light ice pushes the tractor outside and sets it on fire. Taking advantage of the smoke screen, she goes outside and shoots the Nazis. Lastly, she kills a Nazi officer in whose tablet she finds the map. Flynn exits the game and asks for her winnings to be put on her phone. Then she goes to work at a 3D printing plant. Flynn's friend can't understand why she works here, because if she played as the Burton avatar and hid her gender, she could make a lot more money. Here, the assistants bring out a box with a remote piloting headset that Burton ordered. And it was Milagros Calderon who paid for it, and the sum is very impressive. In the evening, she brings the order home. Burton offers his sister to try out the new technology. He's offered to test the equipment because he is one of the best, although of course she has helped raise his profile more than once. Flynn agrees because this is the only way she can buy her mother a cure. Her brother helps her put on the headset, and Flynn finds herself in the game. She's in Burton's body, racing through the streets of the city, and it's so real it's breathtaking. A voice in her head greets the girl and points in the direction. Everything in the game is real, and so is the pain. She does what she's told and gets paid for it. Controlling the Burton avatar, Flynn pulls up to a big house and goes inside. Outside the doors, she is greeted by androids who point the way. She goes into the garden and finds herself at an AI company party. Burton goes inside and sees a beautiful lady in an armchair. The voice in his head orders a relationship and persuades him to invite her home. Flynn gives a non-trivial compliment and gets the woman's attention. Her name is Mariel, and the guy immediately asks to visit. The reception works, and the beauty leads him to a car with a driver who is programmed to protect the hostess. They drive through the night city. The voice in his head orders him to take a capsule out of his pocket and bring it to Mariel's nose. Burton complies. The woman passes out, but the driver is instantly activated and attacks Burton. A fight ensues, in which the man wins. He drives on. The voice is pleased with his progress. Burton rides into a covered courtyard where he is greeted by the mistress whose voice gave the orders. She is impressed with his progress and interrupts the session. Flynn, coming out, expresses delight. This is something incredible. Her brother informs her that she did well. Because of that, she's expected tomorrow and the payment will be even higher. The girl agrees, but suddenly feels ill. Just then, she wonders how the headset works. Later, she goes to the bar to get medicine for her mother, which can only be bought illegally. At the bar, drinks disabled Connor, who pays attention to what is going on. Dealers go out to get Flynn. Connor follows. The men refuse to sell one capsule at a time, until Connor intervenes in the conversation. Realizing that the meeting might end in tears, they go ahead and hand the capsule to Flynn. Flynn thanks him and tells him about the new game, and he offers to escort his longtime friend's little sister. The boss of the dealers, Mr. Pickett, clearly shows his displeasure at the sale of one capsule, and especially at the handicapped man running over them. Returning home, Flynn sees her brother's agony from a neural network implanted in his body. In the morning, her mother admits that Burton is sharing his medicine with her, not the other way around. The brother points to the time. It's time for the game. The girl puts on her headset and gets in. But this time, Burton's fixed body lies on the operating table, and the mistress who appears announces that he is about to feel a hell of a lot of pain. He will have his eyeball replaced with Mariel's eyeball. He must open several doors for her. The pair arrive at the scene, and Burton shows the scanner Mariel's eye. The doors open, they go inside and go down in an elevator deep underground. Here, another scanner awaits them, into which he must look with his eye. Flynn feels pain and begins to thrash around in her chair. But Mistress does not let Burton turn away. Suddenly, a man appears in the hallway. Mistress demands that he be stopped and Burton joins in. But the adversary immediately ties the guy up. The man goes after the woman, whom he calls Aelita West. The man pulls out a device that delivers a sonic blow to the internal organs at a distance. He beats Aelita while Burton frees her arm, peeling off his skin and revealing a steel frame underneath. The man returns to Burton. They cut off his head and trace the connection site. While the men sort it out, Aelita makes her way to the elevator, and the man brings the device to Burton's head and shoots him. Flynn comes to her senses. She will never return to the game again. A friend visits her in the morning, and Flynn talks about the new technology when her body was a machine. But what's the point? Manufacturers should build sales on a sense of reality, then why not use a regular hand? She feels like she was actually there, in a real body and in a real place. Later, Flynn is tidying up her print shop and gets a call from Milagros Calderon, in which a male voice says that the headset situation is very dangerous and she must return to the simulation. Flynn cuts off the call. A policeman notices two strange cars at the gas station and goes after them, but they disappear from view. Puzzled, the officer stops and sees a man with a gun ahead who orders him to get out on the road. The policeman complies and is hit by an unseen car. Flynn shuts down the equipment before closing the print shop, but suddenly a warning appears on all the monitors that her family is being paid $9 million to kill her on the dark net. She has to go back to the sim, otherwise they can't help her. The girl tries to turn off the monitors, but they turn on themselves, showing warnings of danger. Flynn rushes home and tells her brother and his friends what happened. The boys laugh, but when the girl leaves, Burton talks about the sim. The friends remind him when trouble happened to Connor, they didn't believe it either. Burton asks to get the drones out of the car. So they discover the bodies of armed men nearby, making their way to the house. The guys realize someone is on the hunt for the $9 million. Two AI representatives look at the remains of Burton's avatar. The doctor is not happy. The leak is dangerous for their case. Hunter reports the announcement on the dark net and that the real pros have taken up the case. Burton asks Flynn to hide his mother. His friend hacks into the enemy drone and it shows the host a bunch of careless drunks around the campfire. The boys synchronize their neural networks, establishing a connection, and arm themselves. Flynn can't wake up her mother, who has taken sleeping pills. And then the lights go out in the house. The Burton team opens fire. Flynn runs after the weapons. The mercenaries try to eliminate Burton and his friends, but they successfully shoot back and destroy the attackers themselves. The girl manages to grab her gun and kills the mercenary. The Burton team is missing two enemies, the others are killed. And then machine gun fire erupts from the woods. The guys shoot back, but there is not much ammo left. The attackers are calmed by accurate shots from behind, and Connor rides out into the light. Flynn was inviting a visit. Wilf is spotted by Aelita in town. His friend wants to talk to her and possibly pay her. And that is a huge amount of money. The woman refuses, but Wilf insists. He promises good entertainment. Early in the morning, his employer Lev Zubov calls him and tells him that someone wanted a reward for the girl and her family. The team acted tough but lost. That kind of luck can't last forever. So his techs made a peripheral for the girl and she has to get in there. With her help, they will find Aelita. Flynn puts on the headset and goes into the simulation again. This time she finds herself in her own body. Wilf sets the task of finding Aelita, but Flynn makes a counter-demand. They must tell her why her family wants to be killed. Wilf explains that she is inside a peripheral. She pilots this body as her own and is summoned to show her surroundings. This is London, but only 70 years after her present. And it is not her body that has been transported into the future, but the technical data. He says her mother has glioma and the woman will die on September the 22nd. Wilf shows the obituary. They have developed a cure for glioma and sent the prescription to their pharmacy. Naturally, everything is paid for. The killers were not the last. She needs his help and she will help him. Burton and his friends are burying the bodies of the mercenaries when Flynn returns from the simulation and drives into town. She gets her medicine and gives her mother a shot. Driving along a forest road, the sheriff sees a strange picture. A cup of coffee floating above the ground. He reaches out and bumps into a car. The guy fumbles for the door and opens it, and then he fumbles for a button and pushing it, the car manifests. Flynn tells her brother that she gets the wrong sim. The body she piloted is sent to London, and in the year 2100 she sees something unauthorized. The girl confesses that she tried a new drug on their mother. Burton is outraged and ready to go to sim himself, but Flynn objects, he is needed here. The girl enters the simulation again. She is met by Wilf in the garden of Lev Zubov's house. Flynn sees a pair of Tasmanian wolves, but they are long since extinct, aren't they? Wilf explains, recreated from DNA, and points to the man who hired him to search for Aelita and his techniques keeping the worlds connected. Leo explains that when the first messengers went back in time, time sort of branched off and created its own parallel slice. But everything is so confusing that they don't fully understand the theory themselves. The main thing now is to find Aelita, who was responsible for the connections to Flynn's world. But what do they want there? Leo explains that it's like a sim game for her, but it turns out that they are not real to each other. The sheriff examines the manifested cars and finds ammunition. He heads towards Fisher's house. Burton comes out to meet him. The people from the future try to answer Flynn's questions, but they don't know everything either. For example, they do not guarantee the positive effects of the medicine for her mother. Burton recognizes in the sheriff's sample a special bullet. The policeman is interested in the number of cars. Burton explains that they are holding a drone championship. Wilf also wonders why Leo needs access to Flynn's world so badly. He advises him to mind his own business. The sheriff leaves and Burton talks about the cars with stealth technology abandoned on the road. The girl tells him that friends from the future will pay them $250,000 and they'll figure out how to get around the bans since Burton gets an allowance. That same night, Burton's friend wins the lottery. Mr. Pickett congratulates the lucky guy. Burton presents a shopping list for his army. Flynn asks to include Connor, and the brother drives to his friend's house. He is as drunk as ever, but comes to his senses when he recognizes Burton, who tells him about Flynn's visit to London of the future and invites the boy to join his army. Mr. Pickett arrives at a virtual cabaret. But a mercenary from the future sits down at his table and offers a huge sum for killing the Fisher family in his time. Pickett is outraged. The national security has gotten to him here too and quits the game. But when he returns to reality, he finds an advance on his account. Flynn hears a noise in the kitchen and finds her mother there. The woman is hungry. Suddenly, she discovers what she's seeing. This is where the second episode ends.